Imagine a year where summer never came, crops failed, people starved, and bizarre weather patterns swept across the globe. In 1816, the world faced what came to be known as the year without a summer. But what caused this chilling event? And how did it change history forever? Let's dive in to uncover the mystery behind the year the sun disappeared. The day the sun disappeared, the mystery of the 1816 year without a summer, Europe and North America 1816. People expected the warmth of summer after a long, harsh winter. But as the months passed, something strange happened. The sun was pale and dim, temperatures plummeted, and snow fell in June. Farmers couldn't plant their crops, food shortages spread, and society began to panic. At first, many thought it was just a freak weather event. But what no one realized was that this year without a summer was a global phenomenon that would leave a lasting mark on history. So, what could cause such a drastic, world-changing event? The answer lies thousands of miles away from Europe and North America, at a remote volcano in Indonesia, Mount Tambora. In April 1815, Mount Tambora erupted violently, in what is still considered the most powerful volcanic eruption in recorded history. The explosion released an enormous amount of volcanic ash and sulfur dioxide into the atmosphere, enough to block out the sun across the globe. This cloud of ash spread across the world, creating what's called a volcanic winter. As a result, sunlight was severely reduced and global temperatures dropped by up to 3 degrees Celsius. It might not sound like much, but those few degrees had devastating consequences. The year without a summer wreaked havoc across the northern hemisphere. In Europe, persistent cold and heavy rain destroyed crops, leading to widespread famine. In North America, frosts killed what little had been planted, and even in July, there were reports of snow in New England. Food prices soared, riots broke out in the streets, and entire communities were forced to leave their homes in search of food. In Switzerland, volcanic ash mixed with snow created bizarre orange and red skies which terrified the locals. People wondered if this was a sign of the apocalypse. But it wasn't just the weather that changed. This global crisis also had unexpected consequences on art, science, and society. In fact, some of history's most famous works were born out of this dark year. Let's talk about some of the more unexpected effects of 1816. During that summer, a group of young writers, including Mary Shelley and Lord Byron, were trapped indoors by the terrible weather while vacationing near Lake Geneva. The cold and darkness inspired Shelley to write her masterpiece, Frankenstein, a novel that explored the terrifying power of science and the unknown. And that's not all. Lord Byron wrote his famous poem Darkness, which depicted a vision of the end of the world, a world without a sun. The gloomy, eerie atmosphere of 1816 had a profound impact on the literary world, giving birth to Gothic horror as we know it. Scientifically, the eruption helped advance the field of climate science. For the first time, people began to understand that volcanic eruptions could impact the entire planet's climate. This laid the foundation for modern climate studies. But the effects of the year without a summer weren't limited to just one year. The global crop failure and famine triggered mass migrations, especially in Europe and North America. People fled to new regions in search of food and opportunity, reshaping entire communities. In some ways, this crisis even sped up industrialization. As traditional agriculture faltered, countries looked toward new technologies and machines to ensure food production could keep up with demand. This volcanic eruption pushed society in new, unexpected directions. It's amazing to think that a single volcanic eruption, halfway across the world, could reshape global history. The year without a summer reminds us of the delicate balance between nature and civilization, and how one event can have ripple effects across continents and even centuries. Today we have better technology to predict and understand these types of disasters, but the mystery of the year the sun disappeared still haunts us. What would happen if such an event occurred today? Let me know what you think in the comments below.